We want to go ahead and we are reaching out and talking to Brandon Hartke. He's the president of XFER Communications along with Carly Czech. She's his account manager. Thank you both for being on the Oakland County MegaCast. You're heroes in this pandemic, I would imagine.
Thank you for having us.
Yes, thank you. Nice to think that way.
Technology has really become so important during this time. Let's just start off with a little bit of advice that you can give to regular people. I know that you mainly service businesses, but even moms and dads, if we're at our houses, but we're also seeing businesses. We had the lady from the dance company in Kegel Harbor. She's going to be hosting like a learning pod. What advice do you give to all of us to be able to manage our internet back at home to make sure we get the most out of it?
Yeah, I think one of the keys is to, just like anything, really put an emphasis and be diligent about your IT and how you're using it. So the same thing that we've always had is how do we manage our kids using how much screen time, those types of things. It's important to do that and also secure your network and make sure that you have a plan for how you want to utilize that bandwidth. So if you're working and you're doing school and kids want to play video games, make sure that you're kind of managing that. Maybe it's a schedule or that you're purchasing more connectivity and bandwidth.
So Brandon, I understand, are your kids remote at home?
Yeah, so I have, so we're working from home primarily. Today we happen to be in the office, but primarily our whole staff is working from home. So I'm working there. My wife is home, and I have 3 kids that are at home, 11, 9, and 6 that are all at home as well. So as school's kind of ramping back up and going to be starting, they're all going to have that need for bandwidth.
So how do you change the bandwidth? By the way, if I had kids, I'd want you in my neighborhood because you'd be on my speed dial. But if you do have kids and you have more, 2 or 3 kids, and you can't adjust the time that they all have to be on their devices because of this year they're going to start taking attendance at a lot of these classes. What advice, like, do those little extra pod things that you see on the Xfinity commercials, do those help with the internet access in your home?
So absolutely. Kind of there's 2 aspects of the internet. There's how much you have coming in. So how much are you paying for from Comcast or WOW or Spectrum? How much are you paying for there, and what can you get to come in, and make sure that you have that sized correctly. The other piece then is, what are you doing kind of on your firewall? Sometimes that comes from that provider, that cable provider, but there's things you can do to manage how much can be used per device and prioritize those. And then I definitely would recommend investing in maybe a little bit better Wi-Fi, because that Wi-Fi connection that you do can manage those. So very simply, you can buy a Linksys device or something at Best Buy and actually prioritize maybe my computer for work over the Netflix or the Apple TV. So you can do those prioritizations really pretty easily.
We have so many people working remotely right now. Talk a little bit about VPNs. What are they and why are they so important?
Yeah, so VPN, it's a virtual private network. And the idea is that it's creating a secure tunnel back to something. And typically we hear that within our office environment, we're VPNing back to the office. So we're creating a virtual private network back to the office. When we do that, it's an encrypted tunnel. So instead of being out at when you're at home, you can use that to get access to those files that would otherwise be inaccessible to you. So that's kind of how we use it for work. But when we also talk about public internet and public spaces, so if maybe you didn't have good internet, so you have to go somewhere, and again, in a pandemic, what do? You might not be sitting in McDonald's, but you might be sitting in your car outside of it. I mean, there's people that have to do those to get access. And a VPN of any sort can create a private connection and encrypt that traffic. So you're seeing a lot of products coming out that are just doing that on a public per person type basis as well.
So important not only for your work, but just your personal information as well. Carly, you and I have talked about this. You guys have a great backdrop there, but I think people forget when they are doing Zoom calls or, remote business calls, whether it be over Google or Microsoft or Zoom, they're forgetting about what's in the backdrop of their phone calls. Why is that important?
Well, Ronnie, when you are displaying your home office, in the past, nobody was really able to peer into that office. So you would have pictures of your children. You might have different degrees behind you that would show your full name. You might have your children's babies pictures where it shows their full name, their birth date. All of those things are considered private information now, and could be used by the bad guys to hurt you. So you want to make sure that you don't have anything personal, any type of personal information, especially if you're doing a medical call. For any doctors out there, we've had a lot of consultations with them. If they're doing a medical call with a patient, you want to make sure that you don't even have your manila files that have the patient's name on it. It's a HIPAA violation. And you have to be very, very conscious of that now. On the funny note, you have to also make sure that you have everything you need right in front of you. If you need your phone, if you need your pen, your paper, because if you are doing a Zoom meeting and you're not used to it and you stand up to go grab something, a lot of people are forgetting that they're not fully dressed for the office. So making sure that everything is ready for you and presentable. Take a good look, take a couple of minutes, make sure your screen is positioned right, make sure your lighting is positioned right, make sure you're not washed out if you have a window by in your office, and then making sure that if you are going to be on a very important meeting, your dog's not going to bark in the background or your kids. So making sure that you can close that door and maybe even have a sign that you put out there that states that you're going to be on a recorded line or speaking to somebody in a virtual meeting at that time.
We're joined by Brandon Hartke and Carly Czech from XFER Communications with us on the Oakland County Megacast. And so for the longest time, internet has been considered an elective utility, and more than ever right now during this pandemic, we've been communicating, whether it be for business, whether it be for personal reasons between friends and family, or for whatever the case may be, over virtual means. How much more now than ever have we seen evidence that the internet's not just a utility, but an essential service in everyday life?
Yeah, I mean, it's critical, and it's very obvious that it's critical for everything that we do. So it is. There is no doubt that it's a critical utility. It's very important for it, and we see a lot of net neutrality and these other things that have gone on. But the reality is that everyone needs to have it. Everyone needs access to it, and we really need access out into rural areas and areas where you can't get it. I mean, I think we've all experienced that as Michiganders, and that you go up north and you think you have coverage, and then you find out you don't have enough bars, and then that wherever you're there's no Wi-Fi available, and that really is an issue, especially in this type of environment. We see how big of an issue that is, because it creates this the haves and have-nots, if you will, and it's more based on just area. So there is definitely a need for more drive of those types of solutions. And you also see the home networks, Comcast, Spectrums, these types of things. The thing we have to pay attention to is there's an upload and a download. And now with videos and those types of things, we're actually doing more uploading than just downloading and streaming our videos. So that's an important area that has to increase as well, to ensure that everyone's able to do all of the work and the things they need to do at home.
I would say during the pandemic, the internet was a necessity for feeling connected to your loved ones, for being able to reach out and have those very important and private conversations with your doctors, for grocery shopping. It became even more important than any other need at the moment. It's your connection to the world at that point when none of us were supposed to be out and about.
So I know that your company mainly focuses on businesses. Can you share with us how during COVID-19 your business has changed during this, and what do companies need now? Do they need your service more or less?
Yeah, so it's interesting. In a lot of cases, more. So I kind of take you through the way that things happened within our organization. Is as people started working from home, there was a couple waves, right? Some companies started going earlier. Some companies waited till it was more mandated. But as that happened, we saw huge spikes in the number of ticket volumes and the number of people that we're working with, because they're all moving to home. We had a lot of tickets. So we were doing 2 or 3 times as much work as we were doing, prior to that. So everyone moved home and we were able to do that. A lot of the companies we work with were already prepared in a lot of ways. They already had networks set up that had VPN access, and it was just empowering the people with those tools and training them on how to use it. So it was really more of an education and getting them set up at home. And then we saw certain things weren't available, laptops, different things along those lines. So we kind of saw this wave that happened, and then it started to get back to normal, kind of fell off a little bit, and then it happened again as businesses started opening up, and now we're running kind of about normal. It's kind of become, we used to talk about the new normal. I feel like in a lot of ways the new normal is here for how people are working within their organizations. But it's really been this kind of progression and wave. And the technologies, they need us, but the technologies people are asking for and talking about have changed, right? We've gone from worrying about a desk phone in the office to how do I have those desk features and functions on my mobile device? How do I have video calls with people? So the technology that we're talking about has changed a little bit, but everything's really kind of the same in that regard.
Brandon Hartke and Carly Czech with us on the Oakland County Megacast. They are the president and an account manager at XFER Communications with us on the program today. Just a few more minutes with the two of you before we let you go. Any other further tips or any other additional information that would be important for people to know regarding their IT at home, at the office, or connecting themselves properly to the internet?
I would say having a plan in place. So we really had 2 different types of clients. One that were fully vested in a managed service program with XFER, and we had a true roadmap planned out for them for backup and disaster recovery. What happens if? Pandemic was never added to the list. It is now, but it was an easier transition for their workforce to go from brick and mortar to their at-home office. And then we had clients that kind of did this, I don't want to call it break fix, but I need this phone, or I need this laptop, or I need this printer. And it became very, very hard to A, find the equipment they needed, and B, really truly facilitate all the end users of those organizations that did not want to or did not have a plan in place yet. My recommendation for anyone working from home or even in a hybrid environment where you're going back and forth between your office and your home office, make sure you're having those conversations with the people you live with in your household, the employees that you work with, your colleagues, or your IT department or your IT company. If you don't have one, you can always call us for a consultation. But having a plan in place of what happens if my internet goes down? Where do I go? Who do I call? What if I need to stay in my house for another 3, 6, 12 months? What is that going to look like with the type of technology I currently have in my office? And who is available on a 24/7, 365 to assist me should we have to, retreat back home again? So my recommendation is take a moment, pause, look around, see what you need, see what you can ask for, see if there's a bigger need for an additional resource like a company like XFER to come in and assist. And really make sure that you are keeping a good detailed list of what happened and how things changed for you when the pandemic hit, so you know how to accommodate, answer, and expedite any of those issues again if we should fall into another long-term pandemic.
Yeah.
Let's hope we don't do that. Brandon Hartke and Charlie Czech with us on the Oakland County MegaCast. Any last words of advice or anything you want to get out there for people before we let you go? And also, where are you guys located?
We're located in Livonia, Michigan. We serve pretty much anywhere in the country, but primarily Southeast Michigan. So that's where most of our customers are located.
Brandon, you can check out our website at www.xfer.com. We also have a social media presence through Facebook, LinkedIn. We even have a YouTube channel. Sometimes we put some really fun videos out there, how not to. And if you have any additional questions, you can reach directly out to me, Carly Czech, at 734-259-6028.
I think you guys need to get on TikTok. Hey, Brandon, real quickly before we let you go, you're working from home, your wife is working at home, and your kids are remote learning. Are you ready for this new school year, and are you going to survive?
And he has to deal with all of us.
You know what? It's been that way for I don't even know how many months now. So I actually really like it. I think it's been a great thing from the standpoint of being able to spend more time with my children and my wife. So that's definitely a really good thing, and I think a positive that has come out of everything that's happened.
Yeah.
So
You just got bonus points with your wife for saying that, by the way.
well, today happens to be my anniversary, so it's our 16th year anniversary. So.
Well, happy anniversary. Stop talking to us. Get out of the office and go take your wife out to dinner. Thank you both so much for being with us here on the Oakland County MegaCast, and thanks for your advice and your insight as well.
Thank you so much, guys.